So, good afternoon. First, word of warm welcome to Greek Minister of Foreign Affairs, my good friend Nikos Dendias. And it is really a proof of the intensity and the quality of the bilateral relations between Greece and Portugal. The fact that 2 days after a visit of the Greek Prime Minister, we have the pleasure to receive the Foreign Minister of Greece. But the visit was and is very, very important because we have a very important and I would dare to say heavy agenda as member states of the European Union. This meeting is convened in both levels, the level of the bilateral relations, which, by the way, are excellent and can be and will be improved in terms of the economic exchanges, and at the European level. Portugal is now assuming the presidency of the Council of the European Union, and it is very important for us this close contact with all the member states concerning both the internal agenda and external agenda of our Union. That's why we had very important talks on, I would say, all the issues, all the matters that are of mutual interest of Portugal and of interest of Greece. Starting by the issues that concern the situation in the Eastern Mediterranean. I once again reiterate our support to Greece in the defense of its sovereignty, of its interests, and of the international law as the appropriate framework to address and try to resolve any kind of conflicts or divergences. It was also very important for me to listen to Nikos, to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Greece, concerning one of the most important dossiers of the Portuguese presidency, the enlargement process, and the procedures we have to put in place concerning the next stages of negotiation with North Macedonia and Albania and other candidate countries. It was also very important to confirm the convergence of our positions in what regards the need of using the trade policy of the European Union to reinforce the relations, for instance, with Latin America. It was very important for me to confirm the engagement of Greece in the social summit the Portuguese presidency will organize next May in Porto, the engagement of Greece in what regards the relationship between the European Union and India, which will be a very important topic for our presidency. And it was also very important to share common perspectives on the agenda, the common agenda, the partnership between the European Union and the African Union. So, Nikos, it is a pleasure to have you here, and please, you can take the floor.
Thank you so much, Senhor Ministro, caro Augusto. Muito obrigado pelo convite. É grande prazer estar hoje em Lisboa. I'm sorry that's as far as I can go into Portuguese. I would like, first of all, to congratulate you and Portugal on assuming the presidency of the European Union Council for the next 6 months. And it's clear that you have a very challenging task ahead of you, but I'm so confident that you will do an excellent job. And if I may say, Greece will fully support your efforts. We were For many years, the two European Union members, Greece and Portugal, that were further apart geographically, one on the eastern edge, other on the western edge of Europe, but were both southern countries. We joined in the 80s, following a period of political instability for both of us. We're similar to the sense of size. We have many things in common. My visit today comes just 2 days after my Prime Minister Mitsotakis, was here, who met his counterpart, Prime Minister Antonio Costa. The focus of our discussions with my dear friend Augusto today were on several issues. First of all, the priorities of the Portuguese presidency, the developments in Eastern Mediterranean, migration, the European Union enlargement process. I was briefed extensively by the Minister on the priorities of the presidency. I underlined during our meeting that in this regard, Greece fully supports the key issues that we'll be addressed in this context. Enhancing the transatlantic relation with the United States, we would help in any way on this regard. Hosting a summit between European Union and India, we remain absolutely convinced that we should enhance our relationship with this emerging world power, this big democracy. I'm looking forward also to meet with my Indian counterpart as soon as conditions will allow. We had a meeting in Athens which had to be cancelled because of COVID. And of course, we look very much forward to the European Union-Africa Summit. We seek to enhance the relations with the African continent. I have invested in this endeavor and will continue to do so. And Portugal's role, which has special ties with Africa, especially the Lusophone countries, can be of pivotal, of cardinal importance. Regarding the Eastern Mediterranean, I had the opportunity to inform Minister Santos Silva on the latest developments. I underlined that despite a relative calm on the past few weeks, the situation remains very volatile. I stressed that Greece is always ready and willing to engage in a constructive dialogue with Turkey, but of course on the basis of international law, and in order to discuss that single issue that needs to be addressed, the delimitation of exclusive economic zone and the continental shelf in the Aegean, in the Eastern Mediterranean. In the spirit of the above, following an invitation by the Turkish side, it has been agreed that we're going to have the next round of the exploratory talks in Istanbul on the 25th of January. In this context, let me underline that the December 2020 European Council conclusions called not just for a sustained de-escalation for the resumption of these exploratory talks, but also for a smooth continuation. So we look forward to a constructive attitude from Turkey and to the abstention from any provocation from their side. With my colleague, we addressed migration thoroughly. I have to express my thanks as Greece for Portugal's support in this endeavor. By accepting the relocation of refugees on its territory, Portugal has given a great example, and also by contributing to the protection of the European Union's external borders. Greece, as a European Union frontline state, is calling for an equitable migration and asylum pact that will ensure a just and fair sharing of the burden among our family, the European Union member state. Last but not least, I discuss with my Portuguese counterpart the issue of the European Union enlargement process. The countries of the Western Balkans are looking towards Europe and they're undertaking reforms in order to be able to join our European family. Greece's position is that we should keep the door open and encourage them as much as we can in this path. Failure to do so will not only endanger the reforms, but will endanger the European experiment in its totality. My dear colleague, muito obrigado. Thank you so much for hosting me today. Thank you.
for the both ministers, my question is if you discuss the next step about the EU-Turkish relations in view of the next summit, EU summit in March, and if you see any role for Portuguese presidency to ease the tension in the Eastern Mediterranean that caused by Turkey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you know, the European leaders in the European Council of last December have tasked Mr. Josep Borrell, our High Representative, and the External Service and the Commission to do a report to be presented to the next European Council in March with the assessment of the situation in the Eastern Mediterranean, of the behavior of Turkey, and of the options we can take concerning next and further decisions. Meanwhile, I think there were some positive steps that have been done. We know that the Turkish authorities have contacted the European institutions and some European leaders, and they are conveying a message of an availability, a willingness to engage in a more positive bilateral agenda. Next March, it will be the 5th anniversary of the 2016 agreement on migrations and refugees between the European Union and Turkey. And we expect that this 5th anniversary can be also an occasion to review our partnership in that dimension and to further develop our mutual cooperation. But again, there is a sine qua non condition to do so. And the sine qua non condition is the respect of Turkey for the international law. We all can have conflicts, divergence, difference, but in a rules-based order. If we have divergences, if we have contradictions and conflicts, you can go to court, to international courts, and you can try to solve the divergence by diplomatic means or recurring to the international law. As you know, since the launch of the Lisbon Treaty, the presidents, the rotating presidents, has no longer full responsibility of leading the external policy of the European Union. This is now the responsibility of the High Representative, and of course also at his level of the President of the European Council. But as presidency, we will support all the efforts by the European institutions to try to build up a positive agenda with Turkey. But again, this means that all of us have to assume the full respect for international law.
Thank you, dear Augusto. You said it all. The only thing I would like to add is that Greece has always been a very strong advocate of the close relations between European Union and Turkey. But under what you have very rightly said, one condition, that Turkey abides by international law. And I have to say this is an obvious condition. International law is part of the European acquis, and the European Union cannot change its nature and cannot sell its soul. So it is in Turkey's hands. If Turkey abides by international law, it will find a ready hand from Greece to help towards coming closer to the European Union, even helping the prospect of European Union membership in some distant future. But Turkey has to abide by international law. That's that.
Good afternoon. Pedro Rodrigues from Lusa News Agency. Mr. Minister, I believe yesterday the Greek Parliament approved a draft bill about the enlargement of the nautic miles in the Ionian Sea to 6 to 12 nautic miles. And it was suggested that that measure can be applied in the Aegean Sea. In this context, how do you see the perspectives for conversations, negotiations with Turkey, as Turkey has a totally different position regarding this issue? And the second question regarding the relations between Greece and NATO during this crisis.
I'm sorry, Greece and?
NATO.
NATO.
And NATO. During these recent tensions in the Eastern Mediterranean, the Greek government suggested that there was some sort of unbalanced approach of NATO regarding Greece and Turkey in favor, let's say, of Turkey. And how do you see that situation? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions. First of all, what you say is exactly accurate. I was in the Greek Parliament yesterday introducing a statute, a law, in which Greece expands its territorial waters in the Ionian Sea from 6 miles to 12 miles. And also I said clearly to the Greek Parliament, but for everyone to hear, that Greece has the sovereign right to extend its territorial waters according to UNCLOS, that is, extend its territorial waters from 6 miles to 12 miles, everywhere, in the south of Greece or in the Aegean. That is our sovereign right, and that is non-negotiable. You don't have to negotiate according to UNCLOS with another country in order to expand your territorial waters. We expanded our territorial waters to the Ionian Sea without negotiating with good friends the Italians, or without negotiating with our friends the Albanians, who, by the way, they have expanded before without negotiating with us, which was their right. So we're not going to negotiate on this with Turkey. And if you give me the opportunity to say how unacceptable is that Turkey has issued a threat of war against us if we exercise a sovereign right provided by international law, what they call a casus belli in Latin. My colleague, who is a professor, is very much familiar with the phrase. It is unacceptable in the 21st century for one country to issue a threat of war against another country if the other country exercises a right under international law. On NATO, what we have said is that NATO is an alliance, one of maybe the most successful alliance in the history of humanity. That's that, and a very useful alliance, if I may say so. But is it a difficulty when it's addressing difference between member states? And it's keeping sometimes equal distances. But if one is at fault and the other one is right, and the organization keeps equal distances, then it does a disfavor to the one who is right. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Rui Polónio, TSF. I will address my question in Portuguese, if you don't mind. I can...
Somebody will translate that.
Numa altura em que a Europa está a entrar novamente em confinamento severo, o Centro Europeu de Prevenção das Doenças veio pedir, chamar a atenção para a estirpe britânica, pedir medidas mais severas aos Estados-membros. A minha pergunta é, o fecho de fronteiras volta a estar em cima da mesa, admitindo essas medidas mais duras, e até porque Portugal, presidindo o Conselho Europeu, terá aí uma palavra a dizer. Perguntava-lhe, Sr. Ministro, quais seriam as ligações que considera prioritárias, admitindo que esse fecho de fronteiras vai adiante.
Posso pedir, se pudesse repetir o início que eu...
No, once that Europe is going to lockdown, several countries in Europe are now closing their economies. If the closing of borders, it's an issue in the European community.
Yeah, and
να το επαναλάβω. Η ερώτηση είναι, επειδή βλέπουμε ότι κλείνουν τα σύνορα τώρα λόγω του κορονοϊού, αν το θέμα του κλεισίματος των σύνορων είναι θέμα για την χώρα και αν πρέπει να ληφθούν πιο αυστηρά μέτρα.
I may begin because the Portuguese case is very simple. We just have one land border with Spain. And we have an agreement with Spain in terms of which we managed to gather this land board. Any decision we had to take, we have taken it together. That was what succeeded in between April and May, when we had to close the border to the circulation of people that were not transborder professionals or were not carrying goods. So we have this very easy relationship with Spain, and the two ministers of Interior have always worked together on this basis. And we don't think that is necessary any other decision by the time being. The two countries are investing a lot in measures that have to aim to curb the rate of infections and hospitalizations, and we do think that these measures will produce effects, positive effects. Concerning the air flights, well, we have taken together a decision. We consider that we have to maintain open the skies in Europe. We consider some third countries as safe countries, so we don't demand any other additional measure. And for the rest of the countries, that is the vast majority of countries in the world, we apply certain protective measures. In the Portuguese case, we demand a negative test from people coming from abroad. And of course, if they are Portuguese people or residents in Portugal, and if they don't have the test, they have to be tested at the border. If not, they cannot enter in Portugal. They are obliged to make the test. And I do think that for the time being that these measures are effective. But since I'm not in the cabinet meeting because I'm here with my good friend Nίκου Δένδια, I cannot speak for the decisions that are being discussed in the cabinet meeting. I don't know if the meeting has already finished, so. But as soon as it's finished, the Prime Minister will address the media.
Well, I don't have much to say. That, well, for us, it's not that easy because we border a number of countries, not European Union members. But we have always acted in coordination with the European authorities, having into mind the health of our citizens, but also the health of the citizens of all the countries around us, in the difficult equation to try to save as much of the economy as possible. Let's hope that the vaccination of the population will get us the quickest out of this very, very difficult situation for the economy and the societies. Thank you.
Okay. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.